Hi everyone, welcome to AWS Innovate Cost Optimization at Scale. Many customers on their cloud adoption journey will at some point engage in cost optimization. When running a few instances, this is not too hard. It's easy to identify who's running what and which resources to fine-tune. However, when running thousands of instances across an organization, optimization can become challenging. Today, we'll provide a holistic view of how you can ensure an optimized environment on AWS from a technical and management perspective. This talk is targeted at a more advanced audience, so I won't be defining terms such as reserved instances, rightsizing, but however, please feel free to take notes and undertake your own research after this talk. Today, we'll cover why we're here, potential savings and the objectives of this talk, where you can optimize from a technical perspective, mechanisms required for self-sustained optimization focusing on non-technical management, and next steps you can take. So why are we here? To find out how to save on AWS, of course. But before we talk about how you can save, let's look at a juicy cost-saving example. GE Oil and Gas saw a 52% reduction in total cost of ownership. This came from a number of sources, including bots and automation, dynamic storage, allocation, lowering costs through using lower cost resources, shutting off compute instances when they weren't needed, and migrating databases to Amazon Aurora. As you can see in this example, it wasn't a one single magic bullet that delivered the savings. Outside of customers, IDC, an independent analyst, has also determined that AWS delivers significant business value, including business productivity and risk reduction. For example, GE improved their operational resilience and reduced their significant P1 and P0 incidents, typically hardware and application faults, by 98%. There are also IT staff productivity gains because hardware procurement happens in a matter of minutes instead of months, and it can also now be automated. So IT staff can now do more with less time. And of course, cost savings. So depending on whether you're in engineering, finance, management, the answer for you on how to save will vary. And by the end of this talk, we hope you'll have some good ideas on what you can do to improve your degree of cost optimization, regardless of your role in the organization. So now let's have a look at where you can optimize from a technical, hands-on perspective. There are many ways in which you can save on AWS. Firstly, there are some easier ways, such as consolidated billing, which is linking your accounts together into a single payer accounts, which helps trigger volume discounts and maximizes reserved instance benefits. There's right-sizing before migration or starting your instances, and it's easy to do. There's deleting your resources. The equivalent is essentially finding a $50 bill on the ground and picking it up. And tagging significantly helps with this. There's matching usage to storage class. So S3 now has S3 Analytics, which helps identify by bucket and by tag what is not used frequently, and you can apply policies to automatically move files to infrequent access, which is cheaper. And slightly more complex ways include planning and architecting for cost before migration. Here, mature customers will design using serverless services first, and then consider things like containerization, and finally, if that's not possible, consider EC2 as a last resort. Turning instances off outside of working hours typically can save up to 70% of an instance cost, because 70% of time in a working week is non-working hours. Many dev, test, and staging applications can be turned off, and tagging once again enables this. Using reserved instances provides a discount for commitment and are commonly used for EC2. However, they're also available for RDS, Redshift, Elasticache, and DynamoDB, which many customers run on a 24/7 always-on basis. And finally, there are some harder ways to save. These include spot instances. I've seen companies operate 70% of their production workload on spot, which the architecture allows it to perform as well as on demand. Scaling instances to meet external demand. Websites are a perfect example of this, where in busy seasons you want to ramp up the instances and ramp down when it's not used. Rightsizing after migration also saves a significant amount and is supported by tooling examples mentioned later in this talk. Architecting for cost after migration, so breaking apart monolithic applications into microservices, or taking a SaaS approach to applications where you pay for only what you use. You can also use containerization to maximize utilization or squeezing more into less, and the immensely powerful CloudFormation, allowing hardware to be automated, resulting in immense cost savings from a staff time perspective. For example, Bristol Myers Squibb developed automation using CloudFormation to spin up entire secure medical analysis environments, saving 98% computation time relative to on-premise, saving analyst time, and also in a low-cost fashion. So with all of this, what is considered all quite difficult at first really melts away with the appropriate training, knowledge, and tools. So how much do these activities actually save? Short answer, a lot. For example, architecting for cost and using for pay for use services like Lambda, DynamoDB can easily save over 80% of your application cost. Deleting unused resources such as idle EC2 instantly saves 100%. I've seen customers with thousands of dollars of incomplete S3 transfers sitting there, unused ELBs, and years worth of backup volumes that are not needed. There are so many savings to be had, but what stops us from executing on them? Well, similar to the story of Superman, he didn't start out with the ability to do great things. It was a journey that involved practice and learning. And it's quite similar for AWS and cost optimization. AWS gives you superpowers. However, you will start small, but with time and effort, you'll reach a point where you'll be able to stand on stage at an event like reInvent talking about your journey and what you've achieved. So if you're not responsible for the hands-on actioning of cost savings, there are mechanisms that you can set up in your organization so that you don't have to go through an effort-intensive costs optimization blitz every 6 months. First of all, what do we mean by mechanisms? So Jeff Bezos once said, "Good intentions never work. You need good mechanisms to make anything happen." As much as teams want to save on AWS, you need good mechanisms to drive action. So what else is different about the cloud as well? Firstly, the upfront business case for purchases is now less relevant or even removed. Finance and procurement no longer act as a gatekeeper, and without these, there's a bias for costs to increase. So what new mechanisms should we put in place? Here is one step-by-step approach that has worked for some large customers. Step 1, get leadership support for cost optimization. With leadership support, things happen much more smoothly. I've seen companies that have one team that is highly optimized and other teams not optimized at all, with almost no communication and sharing of tools and automation between them. Leadership support will help support cross-team collaboration. Step 2, set up a cloud center of excellence. And you might say, this sounds quite hard, or we don't have the staff and resources to do this. Well, it's actually not a one-size-fits-all solution. When starting out, yes, it doesn't make sense to have a fully fledged full-time team. We've seen customers start with a few hours a week from someone in finance or engineering, undertaking and sharing basic education, and setting up basic reporting and governance. As you grow on AWS, this team can grow from a small to a dedicated team that defines metrics, sets up tailored reporting, allocates costs to teams, and they may also facilitate and share automation across teams and set up tagging enforcement policies. With time, this makes sense to move into a dedicated team with advanced skills. They can be responsible for cost optimization and cost management on AWS across the organization. They can help reduce repeated effort, such as cloud onboarding as well. Step 3, find and engage all relevant stakeholders. These stakeholders might live in a faraway house that you never visit, but it's really important to engage, otherwise you find resistance and pushback down the line when trying to apply policies or governance such as tagging. Once we've gathered the party, we can start setting up the mechanisms. These include tagging and enforcement of tagging, measures and targets of success, reporting and tooling, governance and controls, and ongoing education. So let's talk about the first mechanism, tagging. So if you remember all of these savings, and almost all of the savings mentioned before benefit from tagging or are made possible by tagging, it gives you who to talk to and what resources are relevant to change. Without these tags, it's like saving all the files on your computer into a single folder, and it becomes very, very difficult to find what you need. Tagging is also crucial for cost optimization and cost management. It enables cost allocation and visualization required to establish ownership, which then enables a lean cost culture. Key tags for cost management we've found customers using include the cost center or team that owns the resource, the user or person's name of who owns the resource as well to identify who to talk to, application to define groups of resources to turn off at the end of a project, for example, environment to understand where you can turn off resources outside of business hours, and automation to support and define what should be turned off and when. You can also find guidance at the tagging link at CO17 at the bottom. Quite often, we also see misspelled tags and missing tags. This leads to inaccurate reporting. You'd be surprised to see the number of ways environment can be spelled, and with misspelling, time needs to be spent on dealing with how to represent this in the reporting data. One way to deal with this is AWS config and Lambda. The CO17_tag2 link at the bottom provides guidance on this. Mechanism 2, measures and targets of success. So this mechanism is incredibly impactful when tied with leadership visibility. When you show leadership that you can save 50% of the cost of the workload in a safe way, then you're likely to get the go-ahead and a pat on the back as well. If you track savings, asking for investment in cost optimization efforts will come easier too. So what should we measure? When starting out, go for the measures that won't give anyone a heart attack, for example, non-financials. Financial measures such as current and potential savings by team invites contention and possibly defensive behavior. Try to use financial measures when you know teams are ready and they have bought into the calculation method. Without measures, teams are able to claim that they are optimized through anecdotal cases, but you have no real view of overall optimization. When ready, visualizing savings can be highly impactful to drive support and action. If you show that there's $500,000 worth of spend sitting there on the table, ready to be saved, it really becomes hard to sit idle and do nothing. The example here shows that realized and potential savings for reserved instances, rightsizing, elasticity or turning things on and off, and other savings such as unattached ELBs and S3 lifecycle policy potential. Once you've reached a more mature stage, you can measure unit cost of savings against business value drivers like customers or revenue. At this stage, you may also measure deviations in cost by team or application. These measures will be used to provide clarification rather than to apply corrections with time. One example at Netflix is the cost per customer stream. That's measured for relevant teams, and any significant deviation can be seen by both engineering and finance, with a mechanism to review changes periodically. The third mechanism, reporting and tooling. Reporting is about quick and accurate cost visualization and allocation that has agreed logic baked in, reducing the need for argument. Tooling provides improved efficiency at which engineering teams can take action on optimization. Out of the box, from a reporting perspective, AWS provides Cost Explorer, which is an excellent starting point. It allows you to answer questions such as, where is my data transfer spend coming from? And how much did I spend on backup storage last month? You can also save views for later by clicking on the Save Report button. AWS Trusted Advisor can also be used to point you towards inefficiencies. Please note that some of the savings will not be realizable, but you can still treat it as a compass that points to potential savings. In-house developed reporting can be simple as feeding the cost and usage report into Redshift or Athena and visualizing the reporting through a tool such as QuickSight. The link at the bottom provides a guide on how to set this up, or simply Google Cost and Usage Report, Redshift and QuickSight. Third-party options also provide a lot of depth and functionality in terms of cost optimization and cost management reporting. They also allow you to have instant access to thousands of hours of development time otherwise spent in building your own reporting and tooling. And it makes a lot of financial sense for some customers to use. Some of these provide advanced functions like reserved instance cost and benefits allocation by account and tag, and extend past cost control into security and automation. Mechanism 4, governance and controls. To avoid micromanagement driving the right behavior, it will require governance and controls. It's simply not scalable to have a central team chase down other teams to switch off those unused resources. When we talk about governance and controls, we ask questions such as, what is your cost review process? How do you control visibility based on organizational unit and level? What happens when costs increase unexpectedly? Who gets to switch on resources? What happens to resources that are not tagged? And what happens to business units who near budgets or exceeds the budget? The video link provided gives you a view of what advanced governance and costs management looks like at Netflix, and I encourage you to have a look. Because these questions are highly individual to each business, it's nearly impossible to plan in advance what to do. Therefore, an agile and clearly communicated approach to governance that involves relevant stakeholders will set you up for success. For resource provisioning, there are also several options. One is using AWS Service Catalog with IAM roles, permissions, requiring approval to access more expensive resources, for example. AWS organizations can also help you define policies by organizational unit. For example, allowing the finance team to only access S3 buckets for billing files. The link at the bottom provides further detail on AWS organizations. There are also third-party tools to support governance and control at scale. One example is ServiceNow, which manages how resources are spun up and enforce tagging policies for you. Finally, ongoing education is key, not just for engineering teams working on technical aspects, but also for finance, procurement, and management teams. There are certifications for technical teams, however, non-technical training is also extremely valuable to promote good commercial management across your organization. There are some high-quality talks that will help guide best practices and inspire your teams to take action. Each of these is less than an hour long, and watching these will put you well ahead of the curve regards to cost optimization knowledge. If you're willing to invest a little bit more time, there's also a course on a cloud guru on cost management. So we've covered a lot of content today. What now? If you recall steps 1 and 2, we started with leadership support and assigning some people to be responsible for cost management and cost optimization. These people should have some influence across the organization to loop in stakeholders, put in place mechanisms, and drive change when your organization is ready. If you feel like you're not able to execute on this, then please consider using enterprise support, partners, or ProServe to help you accelerate. Whether you're in management, finance, procurement, or engineering, I hope you now know how to get here. Here being where management can ask questions and receive quick and accurate answers without the need for an effort-intensive investigation process. Finance and procurement have visibility and understanding of which teams and applications are spending, where the spend is going, and don't feel a need to get in front of every single purchase. And engineering is able to stay agile. They're not hampered by administration, reporting, and which can come about if there is not a formal process for cost visualization and communication. So I wish you the best of luck on your journey, and I hope by the end, your cost optimization superpowers will feel like a part of everyday life. Thank you for attending this talk. I hope you enjoyed it, and a kind reminder to please fill out the survey. And please have a look at these training resources and certifications to help you further develop your skill set. That marks the end of this talk, and hope you have a great day.